Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, councillors, citizens, residents, visitors, and welcome back to the Krayvenstown streaming complex on this Sunday, the 29th of September 2019. How the devil are you? If it is your first time here, thanks for taking a punt. Excellent timing. We're just starting with the warm-up, and whether it is your 1 or 100th time coming by, you are watching Story Sunday. Sorry, I'm dealing with, and I'm not sure why, a much lower frame rate than usual on... I know that I'm coming through alright. I'm coming through okay, but my the frame rate in OBS itself, it's not showing my sound bars in real time. It's showing a sort of vague facsimile of them, which is less than ideal, and it's really struggling to render times. Anyhow, we will persevere on. We will persevere on. It might be because I'm using G keys, which I might just turn off instead. Maybe that's the only thing I can think of as making a difference. I have to admit, I've been doing a lot of different things with OBS today. So yeah, you've got plenty to catch up. And yeah, the frame rate's fine. I'm watching my stream right now. It's all solid. It's all good. But for some reason, OBS is just deciding to really struggle to actually render the frames bit by bit. But there we are. There we are. We soldier on. Okay, is it actually going to be... Sorry. Oh, man, I hate it when all that goes wrong. Okay, I think perhaps Chrome is chewing up an awful lot of my RAM. It really is. Wow. Things are locking up. Alright, sorry about the slight sort of technical issues. They don't seem to want to leave me alone. So, to catch you guys on what's been going on since Thursday, and our Tactical Thursday stream, a tremendous fun it was as well. Thank you everyone. We've got so many nice little raiders. I still need to put a thank you tweet out for that one. But, yeah, we got quite a few people popping by. TIL, I'm a technical issue. Hey, see you dying. How you doing? How you doing? Alright, that's actually disappeared. Oh no, that's why I had to leave that up. That was my background music, which I've forgotten about, and it still hasn't fixed the frame rate issue dropping. Let me bring that back. As citizens see you dying, I'm just wondering what's causing it in OBS so badly. Again, not the webcam, not the output, just the feedback to me. Just the feedback to me is a little bit mad, and it's, yeah, I'm skipping frames and dropping a few frames. Again, this is because it's loading up Chrome. See you dying, how you doing? We'll bring the music back. We'll bring the music back. It was absolutely hunky-dory and sublime and all things good. Give it a second or two. There we are. As we were. It remembers exactly where we were. It's like it never happened. So it seems that the technical issues that dogged me on Saturday have followed me through to Sunday. Thankfully, they didn't on Steam. So my weekend has basically been an awful lot of setup and prep for oh goodness, the Steam streams that I've been doing. That's been getting most of my attention. If I just roll back to Friday, catch you up on what's been going on. Oh no, tell a lie. So the rest of Thursday wrapped up as we normally do a Tactical Thursday. And then Friday, a former colleague of mine swung by, and I say swung by, I want to say former colleague, so a bit more context to the slight little catch up on what's been going on since Thursday. One of my last major clients for my business was Digital Domain, the visual effects company who were based in LA, and they also for a while had a division that was very heavily focused on VR. So they had visual effects, and a lot of the profits they made from that went into this quite big exploration into VR and tech and all these kinds of things. Quite why OBS is stuttering this much, I don't know. I hate to do this, might have to restart the stream if this doesn't start stabilizing eventually. It seems to be starting to look a little better now. yeah, and I worked with these guys for a year, and the projects were interesting, but it was the team. The team were really fantastic. Really, really liked it. And yeah, but I'd never met any from LA. There was one guy who I worked alongside who was also based in London, because I lived in London at the time working for them. But he was attached to the team, but he wasn't part of it. So I'd never met anyone who was on the team as well. One of these guys, the division I worked for is no longer with Digital Domain. They split off and formed their own company, or at least half of them did, and the other half are sort of gone off to do their own things. And this fella, he's a really nice guy, super technical whiz. One thing's led to another. He's been doing street view mapping of most of Armenia, because he's Armenian, and he's been going back and forth and doing all of that, even though he's like he's been in America since he was 6, and he's sort of Californian, or was in New York over to California. Anyway, yeah, but he's bilingual. He's Armenian by heritage, and yeah, he ended up sort of doing this thing associated with Google, but not directly working for them. But he was over for the Street View conference. So over the last week that's happened in London, Google's divisions are so big that they have different conferences for different things, and Street View gets a conference of its own, which, you know, makes sense. Google Maps, Google Earth, I think Street View just on its own gets its own thing. People with the cameras and all the tech, especially with the evolution of 360 video and 360 tech and all that. President Nubs is back in town. Yes, our president, Citizen Nubs, how are you doing? But yeah, he was at the conference a couple of days, schmoozing and networking and all that stuff, and then he had a couple more days in Britain before his flight back to LA on Friday, and he goes, hey, do you want, should we get lunch? I was like, yeah, man, it'd be fantastic. So we went over, and I had a proper fish and chips. Now, I know that's a quintessential British thing, and Nubs, how you doing, Bellend? I'm doing well. How are you, Knob Cheese? I'm doing okay. Just, yeah, catching you guys up on everything that I've been up to. If my freaking OBS will decide to balance. Ever since I've been streaming to Steam and doing things, it's just absolutely struggling like all hell, and I have no idea why. Anyway, I'll get back to this, and I'll just explain what's going on once I've finished my stories. I'm alright, twat. Thanks for asking. Glad to hear it, Cockpiece. Glad to hear it. Yeah, so I had my first plate of actual cod and chips, like battered cod and proper chips from a chippy, because I know that's a very, very English thing, but you grow up around it. You just eventually, you just don't bother getting it anymore, because, you live in London, or you're in London, you can get food from all over the world, so why would you bother? And just watching the stream there. No, it's still smooth, it's all right. But yeah, so I sat down, I had a plate of that, I had some beers, we chatted about all kinds. I got to know him like a lot better about what he's been doing. He's contracting at JPL now. So by JPL I mean NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Like I said, the guy's a smart dude. Chippy is not only British, you mug. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You're the real mug. What you're talking about, in terms of Chippy, is a friteur. And they don't serve chips, they serve fries. What you call chips comes from a stupid Americanization of crisps. There are chips, there are crisps, and there are fries. What you call crisps, you call chips, and what you call fries is what the Yanks do, which is they confuse chips and fries. They're two different things. The only place you find a chippy, unless it's maybe in Australia and New Zealand, because they are oddly similar to us despite being on other sides of the planet, is Britain for fish and chips. And what we call chips are what chips are, although I have to put a little aside that Dorito-shaped things, like for chips and dips, we actually will call chips. Even though we have what, really? You minge. Except, so why did you say? You say it's not only British, but apparently you know. No, you don't. You know nothing, Nubs. You make Jon Snow look highly informed and a pub quiz winner. You absolute bender. Total bender. So yeah, that was just sort of nice to do. We catch up. I didn't get in till quite late in the evening, and I was just having to do a bit of prep for ideas for Game On for Everyone, which was supporting all throughout. So British. You clearly don't. You clearly know nothing. You shit nugget. You are completely clueless. I know you think you know, but you've been busted. You've given it away, and now you're trying to save face. God knows why. So. And yeah, the remainder of Friday. So I'm in a good place with. I think I've got now all the submissions I'm going to do. Let me just check my keyboard's working. So I turned off Yeah, it is still good. Okay. I've got all the per donation incentives that I'm going to do for Game On for Everyone. If you're not already familiar, in all of October, we're going to be supporting the charity Special Effects. So any donations that come to me won't go to me. They will go to Special Effect, a bit like the St. Jude Play Live, Twitch-wide, streamer-wide effort that was done a few months ago. Same thing, but this time it's for Special Effect, the games charity. Very deserving. I've got all the incentives for the donation goals and the per donation done. I just got to get them up on the Tiltify account so people can see them there as well and prep all of it. I've got to set up a little temporary board. I'm not doing a full whiteboard, I don't own one, but some paper stuff that I can put to cardboard and have a board. I've ordered some very Jelly Belly yum or yuck jelly beans for this jelly bean challenge. It seems to be all the rage. I want to sort of try that out, so that's good, and that's all in place. The rest of it now, rolling forward to Saturday, it's supposed to be an afternoon and morning and an afternoon prepping for some Steam streams that are being sponsored, and then I was supposed to go out with Mr. Redweird and friends, some mutual friends of ours, and have a poker night, which I hadn't had in years. Chips are fries, crisps are chips in a bag. No, crisps are crisps in a bag, chips are chips, and fries are fries. In England, we have crisps, chips and fries, which is why we're the best country. Everyone else doesn't have chips, they're just stuck with fries and crisps, and that's why they wanted chips but they didn't have chips, so they had to start calling crisps chips just to feel better. Yes, so I was to catch you up, those of you who don't already know, I got recommended by a friend of the channel and friend of my own and streamer friend, Bamey Leaf, to a gaming PR company called Disobey. They're quite new folks, and their chips are thicker than fries. There's more to them than just, no, they're not. They're cooked in a different way as well. To do them, there's a whole range of differences depending on the type of chip and the locality, and a far greater range of what goes into them than fries. Chips aren't just thicker fries. Nubs. I want to just screenshot, hang on. There we go, screenshot that I know British culture, and then just looking at all these terrible, chippy as shit, and your shit, chippy shit, shut up, right, ban Nubs. So close to a ban. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of games. So this group called Disobey contacted me after a recommendation and said, would you like to do this? And a proper sponsored stream, i.e. they're paying me money, which is very nice, you know, moving onwards and upwards in terms of what's going on. So that was cool. And they had a range of 5 games they're doing. It's on behalf of an indie publisher called Another Indie, and that's the name of the publisher, with a number of good, I have to admit, I'm quite impressed the quality of the indie games under their stable. And these indie games are sort of not just like very, some of them are pixel arty and quite 2D and alternative, like the sort of classic indie staples that you get, but a number of them are sort of moving into that mid-tier range, the tier that used to exist many years ago when you had the big AAA games, the real small things, and the sort of mid-tier that's done by teams of 20 or so that wasn't super high budget but was still solid. And they got a number of games in the stable there as well. So anyway, yeah, there was about 9 available in this Another Indie publisher sale on Steam, of which a bunch of us streamers, I think about 20 or so, were eventually sort of demonstrating, and we're doing 4 hours each, 2 slots of 4 hours on Saturday and Sunday, or Sunday and Monday, and depending on our time zones and choices. I had a lot of difficulty getting the one I chose. I saw this great one called Yuppie Psycho, and it looks amazing. It looked very up my street, and a lot of people reported difficulties getting it working because it runs on a very different engine. For some reason, the developers coded it in OpenGL and some custom-made thing that barely works in a lot of things. If you know graphics and working on workstations, OpenGL is often what designers and engineers use, and DirectX is what like consumers use and gamers use. So I could not get this working. A few people managed to get theirs working, but there's a lot of trouble. But I was really gutted because it looked really solid, and I think it's partly because I've got much older graphics cards in SLI, and I get a lot of bang for my buck out of the age of them. And I'm also still on Windows 7. Yes, I'm a bit of a Windows 7 person. I still haven't moved on to Windows 10. Anyway, long story short, I couldn't really get that working, and I really tried. I was trying, and I ended up losing my Pokemon. I had to stay in and get this solved, so I couldn't fix that properly, which was a bit of a nightmare. But kudos, these guys, these folks on Disobey, the two people we're talking to, the sort of manager and the sort of dev lead of them, have been fantastic. They've been putting a number of more established PR firms, I think, to shame. I mean, I've only been in contact with 2 or 3. I think I've done 3, maybe 4 technically sponsored streams. I have actually been given something worth having, not some silly affiliated discount or whatever, properly. And this is absolutely the best one I've worked with so far. Nub says, I'd rather have a kebab after a night out of the... Oh, yeah. I'd never get chips at the end of a night out. God, no. No. But I wouldn't want a kebab to sit down as an actual regular meal. So there you go. But it worked out really well. They managed to squeeze me in on 2 other different games instead for my morning slot. So I did 10 until 2 this morning, my time, on Steam. And I'm doing that again tomorrow morning. So Sunday and Monday for me are very busy stream days. I'm doing 4 hours plus in the morning. And then I'm doing my usual show on Sunday and Monday nights. So it's taken it out of me a bit. In the time since I finished at 2 until now, I've been trying to get things done, but I haven't been all that productive. I've been a bit bloody tired. But it went really well. I was doing this morning, but it sort of wrote off my Saturday. I was a bit bummed about that, and I had to work on Steam Stream overlay graphics, so basically adjusting my banner, but it sort of advertises Twitch and where I am and who I am, because we're allowed to do that, and a sort of intro outro bit. Got all that done, but it was good to wake up, no hangover, no nothing, and be ready to go and fresh and be professional. You should come to the Netherlands and buy the Bishop. I've been to the Netherlands many times, and I'm definitely going to be over for TwitchCon. TwitchCon EU's been announced, but I'll get to that. But your food's fine, it's all right. Your fries are inferior to Belgian fries, and fish and chips. I used to live up north. I lived near Whitby. I've already had the best fish and chips, but thank you for the offer. I'll never turn down a free meal. I appreciate that numbers, free meal, even if they are going to be mediocre fish and chips. But you know, you can't be quite perfect. Perhaps you could work on your beer instead. That could do with coming up a notch or 2. So yeah, this morning I was doing a game called Neverending, which is sort of portmanteau of never-ending labyrinth, and you got these. It's a very cool game. It's got these three female characters of different sort of swords women. One's like a big barbarian berserker. One is more like a samurai or a ninja with a katana, and one's more sort of fencer, western fencer with sword and shield, right? And they can all interchange and they can mix it up, but they've got unique kind of ways to move and dodge. It's very Souls-like. You've got these roguelike randomized areas. I was singing its praises for 4 hours, but I would suggest checking out another indie. Let me just write it in chat. There's some sales on there, some genuinely good games. If you look that up on Steam, there's some solid stuff in there. And yeah, I did Neverending, which I think's a solid indie game today, and I'm doing another one called Sinner tomorrow, which is another Dark Souls-like. Now, I've never actually played a Dark Souls game. When I do hard games, they tend to be 2D. So Cuphead, Darkest Dungeon, etc., etc. Hollow Knight, I suppose, if it's sort of semi-hard game. And moving on to the Souls-esque world, having never done a Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, or Bloodborne, or Demon Souls, or anything like that, took some getting used to. Other people were like smashing their way to the second and third boss, and I couldn't even beat the first boss in the 4-hour slot I had. I came close on one point, but I'm looking forward to Sinner tomorrow. It should be solid. Dine says, I'd rather opt for chips as my local kebab store is special. Many of them are, Dine. And if TwitchCon is in Amsterdam next year, I'll be there as well. It is. It got announced. So, but yeah, on the morning, they credit to Kat and Stutzies, who are the guys over in Disobey, who've been sorting out. They've been working crazy hours to keep us all, with people dropping out and not showing up and everything else. But the people they contacted directly, it seems, the people who've stuck around and done what they're supposed to be doing, what they're sponsored to do, have been solid, and the whole working relationship's been really solid. So that's awesome. I had so many technical issues last night, but apart from some frame drops in going to Steam and so on today, everything behaved. Although I'm wondering if something shifted, because one thing I had to do, and this is getting back to my issue I'm having right now, so far, every time I've streamed, and I've got, let you know now, I've got Pillars of Eternity 2 running in the background like I always do on a Sunday. I've got Chrome up with all my tabs, and I've got all my bot and my everything else running as per usual. Now, normally my PC manages this. It does its solid frame rate. It doesn't drop any frames. It doesn't skip any due to lag. But what I had to put up, I had to change a bunch of settings for Steam this morning, and now I'm getting frames missed and skip frames, even though I put all my settings back to my knowledge how they used to be in time for Twitch, and I'm honestly not sure what's going on. As in ranch dressing, sort of proper cucumber and yogurt condiment. Ugh, no, that's goodness. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow should be all solid for Sinner, and then I can try and get on to fixing what's a little bit off with my OBS. I'm tempted to just jump into settings. Perhaps I didn't save a mode. I don't know if this is going to adjust itself on the fly whilst I'm streaming. Yeah, because I've got some serious frame rate drops. Yeah, no, I put my bitrate back up to where it was at. The video FPS is all the same. No, everything's solid. I put everything back to how it was. I don't know why. I don't know why this is stuttering along so much. I mean, watching on my phone, it seems to be pretty alright. I mean, it's still bouncing between 28 and 30 and all the rest of it, but the fact it's skipping frames for no reason, I'm not quite sure, but it's not enough to really merit stopping and restarting. I don't want to cut my stream up. Anyway, that's what's been going on, and credit to them, another cool thing, just to mention that they gave me a bunch of bonus keys. They gave us a free nitro boost. So now Krayvenstown, yes, announcement, actual updates about, let me catch you up on things about the channel and the stream, and then we'll get on with a couple of stories, and then we'll do part 2. So Krayvenstown now has level 1 nitro. Darkens a little while ago, Lord Darkens dropped a nitro boost on the channel, and it takes 2 nitro boosts to get to level 1 nitro, and then the more you get, the better and more enhanced a Discord channel gets. And this PR group, Disobey, gave those of us who wanted one an additional nitro boost. So we hit it up. We've now got twice as many emotes we can have in the channel. We've got a better sound range. We can have up to 128 kilobits a second sound quality if you want to do co-op stuff in the Krayven's Arms sound channel and all that, and a bunch of other perks that came up as well. So that was a real nice unexpected boost, and I got given nitro for a month on my Discord account, so I was able to do a boost on the channel, which is brilliant. So yeah, that's happened. I also got given 3 copies. I got given a copy of the game I was meant to be streaming, which is Yuppie Psycho already. Then I got given 3 copies of all 5 games that are in the demonstration roster. There's 9 or 10 available total, but 5 of them are in the demo roster. So I've redeemed 1 of each. Turns out I needed them anyway because I had to take on different games than the one I was originally scheduled to do. And they were fantastic about doing that, so rejigging it in slots and stuff so everyone would get one. But I've got 2 of each one to give away, so I'm going to be putting a bunch of those as prizes in the Citizens giveaway, and then FYI Citizens giveaway, next one's on Tuesday, as potential options for people, and I might drop a couple of others as prizes in the Citizens Treasury on the usual first come first served basis. With the week that's coming up, yeah. Oh, hello.
Hoi, Pride Line, hey.
The Hoy Pride Lion, hey, Darkens, welcome, and thank you so much to the 75 biddies. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, we've whereabouts? Oh, it's just starting to catch up. There's been like this real long tail off as the frame rate tries to catch up, but it is really struggling. I'm not sure why. I hope that goes away in time. Hopefully it's just some legacy issues left with streaming to Steam. My god, streaming to Steam. So, the view count. I was on at 10 this morning, and by about midday, I had nearly 1,200 viewers. I saw a count on a screenshot that was taken by the PR people, I was rocking 1,177 viewers on Steam. Now, why is this, you might ask? Basically, almost no one streams to Steam, because there's no incentive to do so. Almost no one engages in chat. It's not like the sort of communal chat in Twitch that's very deliberately engaged in real time, and it's got lots of nice things. There's also no rules you can set up. There's no anything else. I had people coming in and talking in Mandarin and Japanese and Russian and so on. But in 4 hours with 1,200 people watching, I had as much chat as we've had in the first 20 minutes of this show. There's also no monetization whatsoever. So it was awesome to get that many people watching, and some of them did translate over. We got a little trickle of about I think about 4 new residents in town, which was really, really nice. But it was a good boost. It's been great working with such a professional outfit. Disobey Group are very, very new. They've only been around like 2 months, but like I say, they've been showing up other PR companies and how to engage and how to work. And the other streamers who've been coming in and sticking up, we've all been helping each other out with technical issues, because I tell you something, streaming to Steam is fraught with technical issues. There's network dropouts and black screens and freezes and all kinds of difficult stuff. You think Steam of all things would have got something like streaming pretty nailed, but they really don't. So all of us have sort of soldiered on through, and there's been this real sense of camaraderie, which has been really nice. And Darkens, what have you been up to your own weekends? Nubs, what have you been up to? See you dying. Darkens, those of you popping in, lurking, hanging out for my soporific tones and ready for your story time, do catch me up on what's been happening in your lives. Dark says, my weekend is shit. No AC. Oh, nightmare. I know in America, in places where it gets real warm and real humid, AC's the must. The person who said he fixed it was wrong. I've been sleeping in an 83-degree room. In the afternoon, my room gets to 89. Oh, good lord. What's that roughly in Celsius? I mean, that's got to be mid to high 20s, plus humidity as well. That's a bit of a mare. I'm sorry, mate. You deserve a nice weekend off after how hard you work every week. Can beat that. No heating as the unit broke down. So have you been freezing, See You Dying? Have you just been just dying in the cold and just having to be a giant living See You Dying burrito wrapped in your duvets and blankets, trying to retain your body heat? And Nubs, what have you been up to beyond coming in and abusing me and pretending you understand British culture and so on? Yeah, I bet you guys would love to be able to temporarily switch temperatures and just get comfortable and then switch back again. Oh, the irony. So it's a quick thing about TwitchCon. So at the current TwitchCon, I think it's its final day at the moment in the States. The locations for next year's Twitch, and dates as well for next year's TwitchCon, have been announced. Obviously, after the sort of crappy debacle, poor build-up organisation of TwitchCon EU, they seem to be doing a little bit better with it this time. We've already got a location, and as the hints went, there's been rumours going around since we were in Berlin last April, but it's going to be in May in Amsterdam. So yes, to confirm, those of you who don't already know, TwitchCon EU is going to be in Amsterdam, beginning of May. So yeah, well, Nubs has already said if he's in Amsterdam, he'll be there. I have a nice comfortable comforter. Time to invent the transporter, and I have a nice comfortable comforter. Oh, that's good. Excellent. And then TwitchCon US, or the main, I suppose it's still technically the main TwitchCon until TwitchCon EU really finds its feet over the next few years, is going to be in San Diego, or translated from German, it means a whale's vagina. So that's cool. I'm definitely going to be at the Amsterdam one. I don't think I can really merit the cost of going to San Diego for the US one, unless by next September we've hit partner, which you never know, but not going to hold my breath on that one, but we'll see. I can't really merit the cost to myself while I'm still an affiliate at this stage anyway. So, but yeah, those are when the next TwitchCon's coming up, so that was a pretty cool little announcement that came out. With the week going forward, so we're on the usual schedule. It's not going to be impacted by my Steam streams. I got one more tomorrow, and then that sponsored thing is done. And yeah, I'll tell you something, between the value of the games, the full price value, not the discounted value that's currently on this sale, but the full price value of the games plus what they're paying me, is actually a very reasonable rate of return for a relatively newer up-and-coming affiliate. And we had -20. Remind me where you are, See You Dying. Nice cut. Yeah, I can deal with the cold. Oh, you'd love my place. I lived in a cold basement for years. Oof, Darkens, Jesus. That sounds savage. yeah, so the week coming up, it's looking to be a usual Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. I don't think I have anything going on that's going to throw that off. It's going to be the start of October, so Tuesday, Tryout Tuesday, is going to be the Citizens giveaway, so make sure you're present for 8 PM UK time. Work backwards to your various time zones to figure out what that is. As for me right now it's 7:30, so you can work out from there how far away or how far back or forward in time you are. But if you're a citizen, if you're waving one of these lovely flags, then you're going to want it. We've got copies of like Tyranny and Pillars of Eternity and a bunch of these new indies that have not come up. These indie games that are still in early access that have definitely not come up in any Humble Bundle sales. I've got multiple copies of those keys available, so there's some prizes worth having that you definitely don't have and I can recommend. And then from the 1st of October as well, we're starting the month-long support of Special Effect and Game On for Everyone. I'm going to have overlay. I'm going to adapt the overlay I did for my 1,000 resident celebration for goals and forfeits within the Welcome to Krayvenstown bit, and try and keep that up for the whole month. The donation bar will change to from equipment for my stream to the Tiltify and raising money for Special Effects. So if you're thinking of supporting me financially, firstly, thank you very much. But if you have to pick between biddies and subs, or biddies or subs, or donos, please put it into donos. It's going to a really good cause. If you can do both or several, should you choose to, it's your money. Thank you very much in advance. And at the end of it, I'm going to try and take a cut of, if I could afford it, but I'm going to donate to the charity myself anyway. But on top of my own donation, if I can afford it with my monthly expenses, I will try and take a cut of everything I receive in bitties and subscriptions as a percentage, as an additional donation. So if you can or choose to only to do bitties and donations, you will end up still giving to Special Effect charity. Yo, Citizen His Marker. Right now I'm sitting point blank in front of my fan. It's helping a little. Worst part is it's only the upstairs that has no AC, since lower and upper floors have separate AC. I would say that works out okay because warm air rises. So isn't it relatively cool downstairs, or do you have to be upstairs to get better Wi-Fi? And His Marker, how you doing? So I think other than that, that's about. I still need to do Duncan sound effect. Jesus, I haven't had bloody chance this weekend. It's just been streaming. If I'm not on Twitch, I'm on Steam. And if I'm not on either of those, it's prep for one or the other, doing graphical bits and pieces. But with that done, I think we can move on to the main body of part one. So as per usual, a longer warm-up on Sunday to see out the week and catch up on everything that's been going, because it's been a long old time. It feels like a lot's been going on since Thursday, because it has. Yo, Citizen Phoenix, hurrah! Jumps off the cliff and killing a viper. Welcome. Thank you for the host. First host blood goes to you, Phoenix. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, we haven't had any hunts or duels yet. It's compared to Thursday we came in and stuff was kicking off before we could get anywhere. It's a quite a day today to see out the week. But we have a couple of stories now. Hopefully the music level's still good for you guys. Does it need to come down at all for the stories? Yeah, the frame rate seems to be solid, but the stuttering and the info that's being lost is absolutely doing my head in. Anyhow, we've got a disaster kitten meow. Only for certain rewards and stuff. Welcome, disaster kitten meow. It's a very ominous question to ask, to pop up and ask right away. It's text. Are you planning some terrible prank? But yeah, we have text to speech, but it's only for certain channel points rewards.
And there was much rejoicing.
Thank you so much.
But
she doesn't do the long hiss, but thank you so much for the 50 biddies. But let me do it properly for you, because the Kraybot text-to-speech lady was very lazy with that. But thank you so much. There was much rejoicing.
We want a shrubbery.
Excellent. No worries, Disaster Kitten Meow, and happy Sunday. Welcome to the channel, welcome to the Stories Sunday. We're just about to get started with the first story. We've only got a couple today because we got Sir Lord Darkens. These are the second half of what he submitted last week. The three of them were immensely meaty stories. One of them was a bit tricky to get through. So we're just going to do the two of these.
And there was much rejoicing.
when you feel like school has sucked the wind out of your sails, remember that it's cool to Use the wind that's in your tails. Fart, 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 fart. Fart. Every fart is a work of art. Don't know where to begin. Don't know where to start. Farts will set you free. It's that gas from your ass, is that toot from your boot, that hum from your bum, it's that loot in your chute, all that air from your own derriere. Come on and set it free, cause farts are liberty.
That is the best and longest poem. Thank you for actually doing text-to-speech banter and hilarity with better things than just spam and nonsense. That's excellent. And resident leader Golem, lovely to see you. How are you doing? I'm okay. My girlfriend might come in and say hi. Awesome, Phoenix. Disaster Kid Meow. Firstly, thank you for another 50 biddies. That is very kind indeed. I appreciate it. I've never known a text-to-speech lady manage to get something that long. Normally it cuts off at a certain point. I was a bit concerned that that lovely ode to trumpeting out of your bottom was going to be spoiled before it was finished, but thankfully she stuck to the script and stuck to the landing. Thank you for triggering the little rascals.
Thanks for being a good sport.
Not at all, not at all. Thank you for coming in and actually having a little bit of fun with it. There's lazy trolling, and then there's some good old-fashioned banter, and you're definitely in the latter category. Thanks so much. Thank you. 100 bits is very kind indeed. I appreciate that tremendously. If you haven't been here before, my name is Krayven, if you may not have already guessed. I'm a pure variety streamer. I do primarily games, but I do live reading. The first part of Sunday every week is a bit of live reading. I do a longer story to wrap up the stream, like intro and warm up to wrap up the streaming week, and then we do some stories submitted by my community, as enough people have commented that I have a rather nice reading voice. If you're not an Anglophile from elsewhere in the world and just like the English accent, my soporific tones will see out your Sunday splendidly. And then we move on to very narratively rich games, which tend to skew a bit towards the classic RPG. So for part 2 we got Pillars of Eternity 2. I do hope you'll stick around, but regardless, I hope you've been having a great weekend, and thank you for the 200 biddies and a bit of banter. Binter? Would it be a portmanteau of bitty and banter? Binter? Bitter? Nah, Binter. I like Binter. Binter to go with them. And I hope I haven't missed any chat there. It's starting to speed up. Well done, Darkens and Phoenix for God. I missed that hunt. There was no day sound effect to let it go. Leader Golem, how are you? Happy weekend. Can't say fart without art, and every fart is a work of art. I look forward to watching you with pretty much no delay. One of these weeks, Darkens, it'll gonna... her username is Cute Nightmare Girl 90. Oh, excellent. That's a rather good username. Oh yeah, the followage command, I haven't got that set up. It requires a bit of API stuff. You don't really need it. All you got to do is click your own name. If whatever chat you're in, if you click on your own username or tap it if you're on mobile, it will tell you how long you've been following it for. So the followage command is a bit redundant, basically. Alright, moving on to the meat and potatoes of part 1. We've got a really, really meaty story. The third of the Lord Darkens' one submitted last week from our ProRevenge. By the way, let me know if the background electro swing needs to come down a decibel or two. I appreciate what I have in my ears is often a bit different to what goes out to you guys, but I'm trying to get it right. Enough to enjoy it and have it as background without it overpowering my lovely, lovely voice. So this is from the ProRevenge subreddit. Have a story of you or someone you know getting back at someone with pro-revenge after being wronged, then post it here. This has now had 8,200 upvotes. It's 9 days old and posted by the user The Only Says. And Lord Darkens stands on the balcony of his manor and yells "Hoi!" while waving his town flag to rally the citizens and residents below. By the way, he calls it part 1. It's more of a section. It's part 1 and 2 don't have to be 50-50 splits. It's very much a part 1. It's very much a part 1. But yeah, it's not two distinct streams. True. I count the warm-up. Always. That's part of the story time, but it depends on what we get. But no, it's not a section, guys. It's not a section. It is a whole part. That's how a multi-part stream works. I'm going to raise my challenge hat to that one. Anyway, title of it is Supervisor belittles me, I make him suffer. Strap in, this is a long one. All names have been changed for privacy reasons, and it is. I scrolled down, it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. For those of you who don't know about my old job from my I Don't Work Here story, okay, so it's prior reference, I got a job back when I was about 19 or 20 years old, so close to 7 years or so ago, at my town's public hospital in their food service department. I stayed with the place for 3 years, but it has gone down as one of the worst jobs I've ever had for many reasons. Bitchy nursing staff, insane hours, overworking me and my co-workers, that should be my co-workers and I, and just an overall toxic work environment. I went in as a socially awkward girl with no spine for conflict or standing up for myself, and I came out a much stronger person because of this place, but there is a particular series of events that led to that. No worries, guys, the challenge hat does not mean you don't get hugs. Many Sunday hugs all around, many Sunday hugs. Let's just roll it. Let me set it up for you. I like how she sectioned this. This is good. My official title was a food service aide, or aide for sure. AIDE, aide. Jared has AIDS. My job I was hired for was to collect dirty trays and dishes from the carts on their respective floors, wash all of the dishes that came into my dish room, and put them in the dish machine to be sanitized before I let the dishes dry and store them where they needed to go. And now it said dishes too much and it feels weird. Then at the end of the night, I would break down the machine and clean the filters of leftover food and drain the water tanks of dirty soap water before going home. Over time, I became well acquainted with the dish machines we had, and the first one was 20 years old and finally died on us. R.I.P. Big Bertha. Why are ancient big machines always called Bertha? And I could troubleshoot a problem with it since I like machines enough to learn as much as I can about them. My boss took notice of this and how hard I worked in the dish room every day, so began to have me learn about the other parts of the department so I could fill in whenever someone called in. Cooking on the grill and serving food in the cafeteria, cashiering, helping to prepare food trays for patients, learning about different diets and their orders from the doctors, restocking floors for patient snacks and drinks, and finally delivering food to patient rooms. So it's quite the range of hospital culinary skills. If that seems like a lot for one person, it was. Due to staff cutbacks, we were short a lot of manpower, so a couple of us had to learn as much as possible to keep us afloat. Okay, so there's the context. Now, and she puts it herself, onto the story. I'd already been working in this small hospital for just over a year at the time, and I was determined to stay at least a few years to help make my work history look pretty good in the stance of longevity. That and pure stubbornness, I guess. In that time, my boss hired a new supervisor for our department, who will now be called Chad. Oh, and we got a hunt underway. Exclamation mark, hunt to get yourself some good creds. Get yourself some bonus creds, some more creds. I'm in. Are you going to be cool enough to join us? At first, Chad seemed like a pretty nice guy, and me, being the awkward dork I am, tried to help him fit in with the others at work. I told jokes to him, got him to open up a bit to the others, and soon he was able to have a conversation rather easily. All was good. Then he passed his 3-month probation period and was no longer being constantly watched by the boss. Chad, if the name wasn't a giveaway, turned into an insufferable arsehole. He began to bark orders as if he owned the kitchen, demanding to know why certain things weren't being done his way, and overall was slowing down production tremendously for everyone. Not to mention he himself was a lazy cunt. Her words, not mine, but I would happily use them, as you all know. When there would normally be 2 people washing dishes, if one of them called in, it would mean whoever was there had to pick up the slack and do it all by themselves. Chad wouldn't lift a finger to help unless he knew the boss was going to be in the kitchen and not in his office by HR. And even then, Chad didn't know what he was doing. And to top it all off, he made it a point to take jabs at me in front of the others, trying to make me look stupid because I was the youngest member of the department. I felt like I'd gone back to high school, being the quiet, nerdy girl who was picked on for liking things out of the norm and being laughed at for being weird. I like to draw, I love anime and play video games. I get this is someone that many of us can relate to and their situation. So when the topic of what are you going to do on your days off came up, I usually said something like, I'm going to relax at home and play insert game after doing some chores. Then Chad would make a remark like, "Wow, you play video games? You must not have a life." Arsehole. I think we can all go along with that. Chad sounds like a complete bellend. It got to the point where I was so fed up with Chad's bullshit that I began to grow a bit of a backbone. Plated dust vipers, just you and I today, Darkins. No worries, we're going to kick its ass. We both made a profit. Look at all that lovely profit. There's only 20 credits to go in. We walked out with a 410% on what we put in. I began to grow a bit of a backbone. I was fed up with constantly having anxiety working with him and hiding in the bathroom sobbing during my shift when he was making my life a living hell. I began to make cracks back at him and get into yelling matches with him in the kitchen. No sound escaped the doors once they were closed, so no one outside the department heard us. He couldn't fire me, only tell my boss and sign a write-up, which he never did because he saw it as a way of losing to me in our arguments. Anytime he made jokes at me, I threw them right back, and when I knew he was doing something wrong, I would fight back and tell him how it's supposed to be done. This went on for a few months, and then the final straw. Indeed, more profit for us. As a dishwasher, you're supposed to take temperatures in the dish machine to ensure it's working properly. It's supposed to reach a certain temperature when washing dishes to ensure everything's being sanitized properly. If not, there could be an outbreak in the hospital from germs or mold. I was going to say dishwashing in a hospital is a bit important, yeah. All the temperatures and times are recorded on a sheet and placed in a folder in the dietitian's office by the dish room. I was making my usual rounds of taking temperatures when I noticed the machine was reading about 20 degrees in the red colour from where it was supposed to be. I shut down the machine and began to drain the water tanks. This was my way of troubleshooting if the tanks had just not been drained in a while, or if something was seriously wrong with the machine. As I was draining the water, Chad comes in and sees me doing this. He was furious and begins to rant. Chad, what are you doing? We still have piles of dishes to wash. Me, temps were low, gotta drain the water and see if that fixes it. I think, Chad, how the hell is that gonna fix it? You're just wasting time. Me, visibly annoyed, if you'd let me finish, I'm seeing if morning shift drained the water or not. If not, then it'll only take 10 minutes to fill the tanks back up. Chad, I know the tanks were drained. I drained them myself. I get up and look him in the eye, knowing he was lying since he always asked me to take care of the machine at closing. Me, prove it. Show me how. He was about to yell again when my co-worker Dean in the diet office peers into the dish room. Chad's face turns red and he gives me a death glare before storming off. I continue to work on the machine, and once the tanks are refilled, I initialed all of my temperatures and times on the sheet before returning it back in the office. The day goes by, and after a hellish time on the floor serving patients, I was in the middle of my cleaning duties with the cook and Dean. I get called by Chad saying that the boss wanted to talk to us. So, after making sure the dish machine was cleaned, I walked with him to Boss's office. There, Boss begins to tell me that Chad had given him evidence that I was slacking on my duties and that I was not taking temperatures like I was supposed to for the dish machine. He said that, thankfully, Chad took the temperatures, but if I wanted to keep from getting into trouble and keep the department from getting into legal trouble, I needed to step up and be a team player. Ooh. He said that I was getting a verbal warning, but if I did this again, I would receive a write-up or possible suspension. My jaw hits the floor, and even though Chad is smiling smugly in the corner, I chose not to argue with my boss and head back to the department, defeated and fighting back tears. Oh, bastard. What a prick. I was sure that I took the temperatures, and when I checked the book, I was shocked to see what I found. My temperatures were still in there and times I took them, but the bastard actually photocopied the page, whited out my initials and replaced them with his initials. He then traced over the pre-existing handwriting to make it look legit with his initials. He made it look like I had not taken temperatures all day during my shift. I racked my brain, wondering how the hell he could have gotten away with it with no one noticing him. And then it hit me. He must have done it in the dietitian's office when no one was around, due to dinner trays being made under the dietitian's supervision. I was pissed. I began to bide my time for an opportunity for revenge. Oh, here we go. It came about a month later. Now, since we're a hospital in a small town, it was normal for us to get catering orders for the members of HR and upper management for when they had meetings upstairs. Those orders were easily, because they usually wanted chips, or crisps as we'd say, pre-made sandwiches and soda for about 10 to 15 people. Occasionally we got huge catering orders for district meetings, and that was when we would bust out the catering dishes, so like large white immaculate plates, silverware, glass cups, punch bowl, food serving plates, desserts, tea, and cloth napkins were usually used for these events. And even though it was a lot more dishes for the understaffed aides, it was pretty simple. Yeah, so had eye darkens, Jesus Christ. This particular order was for the CEO, his workers, HR, doctors, head nurses, and the higher-ups who owned the hospital's contracts. The estimated amount to be served was about 150 people, since many members of the board were going to show up as well. Usually we got the huge orders a week in advance, so the supervisor can arrange the schedule to have more bodies on deck to help. Chad, of course, schedules only me to be the afternoon dishwasher, meaning I had to clean the dishes for the entire hospital, and the catering order. This was my chance for revenge. As always, Chad didn't lift a finger to help me in the dish room, and the entire room was completely full of dirty dish carts from the floors. The hospital had about 95 patients that were eating, and morning shift had been running behind, so I had both breakfast and lunch dishes to clean. It wouldn't have been so bad if we didn't have to take apart the trays one by one to make sure no needles or blood were on the trays and clean each piece. Oh Jesus, dangerous and unpleasant. I was stressed beyond belief because I knew that the 150 people catering order would be due any time now. But I kept myself calm and tried to keep doing my job. A few hours go by and Chad calls out for me to shut off the dish machine. It was very loud, and tells me to go and pick up the catering order. Instead of arguing with him, I decided to do it and asked if he was going to help me. He gives me a shit-eating grin and tells me I have better things to do, you can do it alone. Perfect. So, despite me being exhausted, sweaty, and have a wet uniform from my dishwasher apron with holes in it, I made my way to the management floor. I scope out the damage and realise I'm going to have to make 2 or more trips across the hospital to clean this up. I begin to pick up the dishes in the meeting room, take off the tablecloths and stack them on one of 2 long carts. While I'm about to clean up the food serving table... Another hunt, folks, another hunt, exclamation mark, hunt. Here we go. I began to tablecloths and stack them on one of the 2 long cars. While I'm about to clean up the food serving table, I look over to see the door that led into the HR office was open slightly, and a few women were laughing and commenting on how good the pork roast was at the meeting. I knew they were within earshot. Let me give this a bit more emphasis. I knew they were within earshot of me. It was showtime. In this moment, I was thankful for being clumsy and having sprained my ankle so much growing up, because it was easy to do this. While I was cleaning up, I deliberately tripped on a chair that was left slightly out and went crashing onto the floor. I sprained my ankle doing this, which is what I was planning. Jesus Christ, this is a risky plan. And the glassware I was carrying fell and crashed to the floor. The 2 women in HR heard this and rushed over to see me laying on the floor with shattered glass all around me and a few minor cuts on my arms. They rush over to help me. We'll call them Jane and Jill. Yo, Citizen Fox Mulder. Hello, how is people? Doing alright, doing alright. How's things? How's yourself? How's little Sarah? Jill, are you okay? Me? I'm alright, I say on the brink of tears. Jane, are you sure? Here, let's get you into a chair. Me, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't tell my boss. They help me up into a chair, and when they check me over to see I'm in tears, they began to ask me questions. Jill, where is your help? Me, it's just me right now. I'm supposed to pick this up and take it back to wash them. Jane, seriously? All by yourself? Why didn't you get someone to help you? Me, we're short a dishwasher today. I'm trying as best I can, but I keep falling more and more behind. At this point, I begin to cry uncontrollably. All of the stress and emotions I had bottled up from the past few months from working with Chad and the department had finally built up so much that I let loose my repressed emotions on these two ladies. I told them about the understaffing, the insane amount of overtime I and my co-workers were getting, how I was the only one doing dishes that day, how my supervisor refused to help me, and how much stress I had been in. I wasn't faking any of it. I was just waiting for the right moment to finally break down and tell the right people about all of the negative feelings I had. Needless to say, the two were shocked at my breakdown. Yo, Councillor Lila, welcome on in, Krayvenstown's very own ray of sunshine and law and order. Fox says she's good, jolly good, was up at her grandparents, your parents. My uncle was with my little cousins and she was playing with them. Oh, that's lovely, Fox. That's really, really wholesome. That's very, very nice and very encouraging. Good on you. That sounds like a nice day. It gives you hopefully a little bit of time off to enjoy yourself. And you have a pizza on. Well, a happy Sunday. Thank you for spending a bit of your precious free time with us. I do hope we can entertain and engage you. Needless to say, these two were shocked at my breakdown. Once I calmed down, they told me they wanted to see just how bad things had gotten in the dish room. If it was as bad as I said it was, they would make a case with my boss. So, with their help, they helped me get back to the dish room with the carts of dirty dishes, and I held onto the cart while limping down the hall. Good bit of limping. Once we got to the staff door for my department's dish room, I told them to wait outside while I pushed the carts in. And Lila, how are you, lovely? Helping a friend with connection issues was just the worst. Big stress, silly interwebs. Oh, sounds like a nightmare. You had a nap. Very well spent amount of time there, Fox. Once we got to the staff door for my department's dish room, I told them to wait outside while I pushed the carts in. Confused, they comply and hug the wall, waiting to see what happened next. I slipped into the dish room with the carts like nothing happened, so like eases up on the limp on the sprain and just carries on. And Chad comes in and glares at me. At this point, the room was completely full of dishes, carts, and now 2 catering carts that took up a large amount of space. You could barely walk through the damn place. We then begin our normal yelling match, all while the door was left slightly open behind me. Chad, the dick. About time you came back. What took you so long? Me, I was picking up an order by myself. What did you expect, Chad? Chad, I was expecting you to do your job. Clearly you can't. Look at all of these trays. Me, I just picked up and began to work on lunch when you told me to get the catering. Did you do any of these while I was gone? Gesturing to the room. Chad, no, I had my own work to do. You're just too slow. Me, how the hell am I supposed to wash dishes when I'm picking up the catering order? Chad, not my problem. Do your job or you'll get a write-up. Oh, he's stitching himself up gloriously. With that, he leaves, and I go back out to meet with Jane and Jill. Their faces are filled with anger and disgust from what they just listened to, and they reassure me that this was going to stop now. We walk together back to the management floor, and as I limp into the boss office behind them, the 2 ladies began to go off on him about Chad and what he had been doing. Confused, boss had no idea what they were talking about and looked to me for an explanation. However, Jill and Jane told him to follow us, and we walked back to the department. At this point, my ankle was throbbing with intense pain since I sprained it pretty good. When we got to the dish room and opened the door, my boss was appalled at the amount of work that was left for me, and when he heard there was no second or even third backup dishwasher scheduled, he almost lost it. He called for Chad, and the 4 of us waited in the dietitian's office. While we waited, I told him I didn't want him to lose his job over this, but I wanted him to know how I felt being left with so much work. I really felt this way, but a huge part of me just wanted to see him suffer. When Chad walked in to see me and 3 powerful people with me, his face turns pale, but his normal shit-talking face, his normal shit-talking face is replaced with one of fake concern and confusion. Oh, he's putting on like, oh, what's going on? Though his act fails as Boss began to demand why he didn't schedule someone to help me. He told Boss he had been helping me as much as he could today, but Jane and Jill stop him and repeat what he told me before. Boss is disgusted, and he looks to Chad after discussing the situation more. Boss, this is what is going to happen. OP hurt herself cleaning up the catering, so she's going home for the day and will be off for 2 days. Chad, she can't go home, we're short-staffed. Boss, that was your fault, not hers. She's not going to suffer because you screwed up. Chad, but Boss, also, I don't care how much overtime this accrues, you're staying after. Chad, what for? Boss, tonight you're going to be the dishwasher, all by yourself. You're going to wash every single one of those dishes and the catering order, and since it's almost time for dinner to be served to patients, guess you'll be doing those too. If you leave anything for the morning crew to clean up, and if the department isn't cleaned like it's supposed to be, consider yourself fired. Once he said that, I was sent home for the day, and the 3 continued to tear Chad a new one as I limped out the door. When I got back to my car, I was smiling so much that my cheeks were hurting all the way back to my house. Epilogue. So as a meaty story, epilogue. After I got back from my 2-day break, I noticed that there were a lot of empty slots on the schedule that said new hire, but no hours. It seemed that after the talk, HR decided to grant us new hiree slots to help with our understaffing, but the slots were still empty. I also found out something that was just icing on my beautiful revenge cake. I found out from Dean, who was mentioned briefly earlier in the story, that Chad had to stay until about midnight cleaning the entire load of dishes that he let pile up on me, and the next day he even helped the one person he scheduled for morning dishes to clean up breakfast since he scheduled himself to work the morning shift. But the cherry on top was that when there were large catering orders, Chad had to set up and then clean the orders from then on, since he was convinced it could all be done by one person. So when he was cleaning a large catering order by himself in the dish room, I walked by about to get ready to serve dinner to the patient rooms. He stops me. He then asks if I minded staying back and to help him since there was so much of the catering order left to clean up. I smile and said simply, not my problem. Do your job. Boom. She's got a bit of an edit here. Oh my goodness, thank you. I didn't realise, because this story blew up and got a gold medal and star and everything else. And just a few common questions to wrap this up. To those asking why I didn't report him for the falsified temperature stuff, which I have to admit I'm curious. He took the original page and he whited out my initials and probably destroyed it later, leaving only the photocopied page, because of course the photocopy would just put the white, whereas if you had white out on the original, he effectively destroyed her proof. So even though I tried to fight back, so I couldn't bring him down with actually tampering records. I also didn't really know my rights back then, since I was about 20 at the time, so he was quite sly in how he framed her for the temperature thing. 2, for those who are worrying if the hospital is the same way, the nursing staff was changed to make way for more compassionate nurses, and many members of my old department either quit, retired, or were fired. 3, Chad only stayed for maybe 8 weeks at most before he moved back to his old town and old job. 4, the food service department was taken over by another contracted company who, from what I hear, is much more compassionate has a lot more staff members to help. My friends who are still working there told me that it's a much better and happier place to be at. And 5, at first I was actually not planning to cry to Jane and Jill, the HR ladies. My original plan was to get hurt, be very angry and threaten to walk out. However, when they were so nice to me and showed that they really cared about what happened to me, I couldn't hold back anymore and I broke down. I am a very emotional person. I cry at the drop of a hat due to living in a highly abusive environment growing up. When I left the hospital, I was much more mature and hardened. Well, hell, that was one hell of a meaty story, but that was some solid pro-revenge. So thank you. Thank you so much, Darkens, for that one. We've got one more, We've got one more. The second, this is the last of the ones that Lord Darken submitted last week. Although it says XXL, this is a much more sort of standard long length post, and this is from the Reddit I don't work here lady. Oh, that sounds like that has run out. So we'll just replay. We'll start it from the beginning. Hopefully the volume's still okay for you folks. Have it about there. Oh man, the frame rate's still stuttering along. I'm not sure why. Okay, so I don't work there. So this is I don't work here lady is a derivative of subreddits like Tales from Retail. It involves stories about folks that go into other businesses and have irate customers mistake them for employees. So this is posted about 8 days ago by user Silly Southerner. It's got about 2,700 upvotes now. Title is I don't work there anymore. Figure it out yourself or call a store with a competent manager. So the TLDR version is manager pissed me off. I put in my 2 weeks and then manager had to call me to ask how to handle a party package I'd sold, and I had to remind her I didn't work there anymore. It's one of these classics, you know, abuse the employee leaves, you still try and reach out to the employee. So once upon a time, way back in days of yore, nice opening, I was a young lad seeking my first legit employment after high school. Seeing as I had only just recently turned 17, early graduate by 2 years, and lived in a rural area, a lot of options were closed to me. Sure, I could work under the table like I always had before, but it was time to start working a real job. So I hopped in my hand-me-down vehicle, drove the 40 minutes into town, and started putting in job applications. One of the places I applied was an arcade. For those of you born after 1995, this was an establishment where you found video games, skee-ball, and games of skill and chance which you could play for a fee. An example can be seen in Season 2 of Stranger Things. I like that, yep, and likewise, that was very, very relevant to everyone on Twitch who's a younger millennial. And Gen Z. I was hired at the arcade by a manager who was about to leave his role as a manager to take a better paying job working in a parts manufacturing plant, who had trained his replacement to take over for him. Cool. Except right after he leaves, the replacement he had trained up gets arrested for simple possession. Ends up losing his job as well. So there's no store manager. The area manager comes in, sees our staff is basically me, a young woman who consistently shows up late and does the bare minimum, and a stoner friend of our former replacement manager. After what happened with him, the area manager decides he needs to replace the manager with someone else and bring us up to a full staff of like 6 to 7 people, basically. But in the interim, we'll fill in for the manager duties as he can, but he needs someone to handle the daily manager duties because he can't, because he's responsible for a bunch of different stores and corporate stuff. Long story short, I get a crash course in managerial training with what even then I knew was a laughable excuse for a pay rise and compensation. No real authority or position in exchange for a bunch. So there's no real authority or position in exchange for a bunch of responsibility. Time passes. His first candidate to take over the store is a train wreck. He gets a replacement manager by promoting the fully trained assistant store manager, hereafter ASM, of another store on the condition that they get a replacement. It's getting a little bit confusing, all these replacements, but anyway. Cue my transfer, aka designated fall guy, most likely. Indeed, Ceodine. The new store has a kick-ass manager. She promotes the younger sister of her former assistant store manager to be her new assistant store manager. Didn't bother me. The company had a policy against letting people under 18 take management roles, and I didn't want it anyway. After my experience, I was looking forward to less stress and responsibility. The new store manager leaves the store when her husband, who's in the Air Force, gets transferred to a new duty station. The assistant store manager is now store manager. And they don't name a new ASM. I'm just going to say ASM, someone else. ASM dislikes me. I spend months working there. I sell a birthday party package, something the company wants us to do as much as possible, but that hadn't been done at that store in the entire time the ASM had been working there. And apparently no one but me, because we did it all the time in the other store, knew how to do. One morning before opening, I'm going through the opening procedures when the ASM and the area manager are there. Things come to a head. The area manager is there because the store is losing money. The ASM accuses me of stealing from the store. Strong accusation. I turn to the area manager and give my 2 weeks verbal notice on the spot. Say that I am not a thief and I refuse to work with someone like the ASM after they've accused me of it. Fast forward 2 weeks and 1 day, the day of the birthday party. I'm the only one at the store who knows our procedures for. I get a phone call asking if I'll come in and work it. I don't work there, remember? Well, can you at least tell us how we're supposed to do this? Try calling another store, one with a competent manager, for advice. I'm not obligated to help you since I don't work there anymore. She started to raise her voice, but I hung up and I didn't answer her call back. Oh. That's the end of the story, but there's a little edit. As for the... Okay, most of his edits are just a few explanations for being facetious and stuff. Alright, well that was... I have to admit, that story was a little bit confusing to follow. He seemed to go to multiple stores, but yeah, a classic, will you still come in and help us after he'd been stitched up? But it's like, yeah, how about no get stuffed? So that's all good, that's alright. Right. Folks, here's a perfect opportunity to get yourselves a little break. Thanks so much for joining me for part 1. Don't go anywhere. We are going to crack on with part 2 in moments for you. I'm just going to update the stream information, say Pillars of Eternity 2, what we're doing. We've got to find a fabled island. That's what we're doing to gain the Prince of Nekataka's trust. So here we are. End of part 1. Go to the loo if you need to. Go and get yourself a cup of tea or a drink or whatever you've got on for the rest of your Sunday. I'll be back with you very, very shortly, about 2 minutes, if that.